If Kirk Cousins ends up not coming back to the Minnesota Vikings, we have to weigh all the potential possibilities, all the potential options that the Minnesota Vikings are going to have to take a look at, whether that's in the free agent market, the draft market, or wherever they may be looking for their next quarterback, or even if it's within the building. But we've talked about a couple different players, like Russell Wilson and his potential possibility of being here, Justin Fields and Sam Darnold and a couple others. But we're going to re-hit one quarterback that Rich Eisen actually believes might be the possible solution for the Minnesota Vikings at the quarterback position. It's an interesting one. It makes sense. We've talked about it before, so let's dive right into that situation. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. So, could a Minnesota native be the answer for the Vikings at quarterback? Well, Rich Eisen seems to think so. On the Rich Eisen show Monday, Eisen broke down his top 5 rumors from the NFL Combine. And he started off at number 5 by talking about the Vikings quarterback situation. Eisen interviewed Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell and asked him about the situation with Kirk Cousins when O'Connell told him that Cousins is a process guy and has earned the right to be a free agent. Now, before he said that, here's what Eisen said. Before he said that, I heard this rumor that a possible solve at quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings is a native of the state, and his name is Trey Lance. Lance is a Marshall, Minnesota native, was the 3rd overall pick by the San Francisco 49ers in the 2021 NFL Draft, but ultimately was traded to the Dallas Cowboys after 2 seasons when injuries and the meteoric rise of Brock Purdy ended his time in San Francisco. So yes, San Francisco, sent a lot of picks away to trade up to draft Trey Lance, thinking he was going to be the next one, the savior of the franchise, or not really the savior, but the next franchise quarterback, pending what's going to happen with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? That was ended very, very abruptly when Trey Lance actually suffered an injury. Brock Purdy gets to come into the game, balls out, the rest is history. Brock Purdy's their new quarterback. So what's going to happen with Trey Lance? Well, they ultimately decided to trade him away to the Dallas Cowboys, in which he's going to be or serve as Dak Prescott's backup quarterback. Didn't really see the field much, probably won't see the field much in his time with the Dallas Cowboys. So it is fitting that there are teams shopping around for Trey Lance and the potential possibility of, giving him another shot at being a starting quarterback in this league. And I think Minnesota would be one of the top spots for him to go because, yes, he is from Marshall, Minnesota, and, Minnesota native. That is huge. He would have his family to look back on or to go get advice from. He would just feel more at home, right? I mean, that just makes a lot of sense. Now, Lance has only played 8 games across his 3 NFL seasons, okay? Not a big, stat line, if you will. Okay, he threw for 797 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions while completing 55% of his passes. He remains an intriguing prospect at just 23 years of age, despite limited action. Okay, the Vikings may view him as a player who has potential and perhaps a high ceiling. Here is also what Eisen said. Trey Lance is a possible solve for the Vikings. Now, the Cowboys kept him on the roster long enough to get a bonus, so they're paying him money to keep him, and they, as you know, got him for a 4th-round pick. I'm just wondering if the Vikings flip him a 3rd-round pick, a Friday night pick, do they go ahead and do that? Well, the Vikings may indeed be in need of the quarterback market. We are. Okay, we definitely are. Even with re-signing Kirk Cousins, we still have to look at a potential backup or a long-term solution after the contract of Kirk Cousins expires, if he does end up staying in Minnesota, right? Now, while re-signing Cousins remains their top priority, Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio reported on Monday that he's getting very credible indications that Cousins is seriously considering moving his family to Atlanta, which would mean, obviously, that he'd be signing with the Falcons. We talked about it yesterday. Mike Florio said that Kirk Cousins has been shopping around the area looking at houses, for his family to potentially move to if a deal were to get done. That doesn't mean anything. It just means that he's keeping his options open. He's making sure that he has a plan in place if a deal with the Vikings doesn't, go through. Now, Atlanta is the other top contender to sign Cousins in free agency. It remains to be seen if Florio's intel is any good and whether free agency will see Cousins land in Atlanta. But Lance is a potentially intriguing possibility for the Vikings at quarterback should Cousins depart. So we've talked about the Trey Lance situation to Minnesota, I think a couple weeks ago, and a lot of you guys, or at least some of you guys, were like, absolutely not. He hasn't done anything. Like, he's not that good of a quarterback. Why would we waste, draft capital to go and trade for him? Why would we even waste our time with getting Trey Lance? And I'm going to say this. With everything we've seen from Trey Lance, the injuries, the interceptions, not looking like an NFL, starting quarterback, there's still time for him to become something, to be a starting quarterback in this league. And I think the best place for him to do that, not schematically, not, wherever. Anyways, let's move on, okay? For him to be something or have a chance to be a starting quarterback, I think Minnesota is the best place for him. This is his home, okay? This is where he becomes Trey Lance, okay? This is where he could flourish. And I think Kevin O'Connell, being a former quarterback himself, being very quarterback friendly, being a guy that can allow Nick Mullins to throw for 400 yards, I think Trey Lance would excel here or exceed here. I think he would be a decent fit. Now, I also will say this. With the struggles that we've seen him have, if we do go and trade for Trey Lance, we still have to bring in somebody else. We have to draft a quarterback to compete for that starting job. It may not look great the first year or two, but I'd be okay with it. Okay, I just want to know, like you guys, what's going to happen with this Kirk Cousins situation first before we make any decisions. But I'd be okay with the Vikings looking into the Trey Lance situation as long as we found somebody else to pair alongside him for some competition, just in case he isn't anything special, right? So we just have to keep in mind that the Vikings are looking at, Russell Wilson potentially, Justin Fields potentially, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold. I mean, the list really goes on because the quarterback position is one we have to figure out in order to keep Justin Jefferson happy and the rest of the offense happy, and the whole organization, the fan base, and all that stuff happy as well. Because the ultimate goal is a Lombardi, and we have to do it trying to find that quarterback, the perfect quarterback for this offense. So you guys let me know your thoughts about potentially trading for Trey Lance and bringing him in. What is your 2 cents? Let me know in the comments section down below. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of the night, folks, and Skol Vikes.